the network.
Welcome to Music News That Matters, where on the first of each month, we help you sift through the noise to bring you the most important music industry news.
We know there's so much information out there, so we're going to bring you the most important stuff and give our perspective as well. We're going to focus today on TikTok, some exciting new features, ways to monetize your content, as well as California's music economy, which could be about to collapse as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. And before we get started, since these videos are only once a month, make sure you sign up to our newsletter to get notified of the latest news and why it matters to you between episodes. You can find that in the link in the description below.
So let's get right into it, I guess. We're going to start with TikTok. We keep banging on about how important it is, but it is crucial.
Yes, yes, extremely.
So they're testing out some brand new features in the social commerce sector. So users could soon be able to put URLs in their bio, same as Instagram's got right now, link in the bio. And currently on TikTok, there is no way to put links in here, but this would be a good opportunity for artists to put smart links to their music on there to direct people to other platforms to listen to their music. And they're also experimenting with ways to sort of advertise your products and merchandise in the app. So you could post a video and users could directly buy your products straight from the app by opening up third-party websites.
Yeah, man, I'm going to tell people why, to me, this is so important, all right? Because if you're on TikTok, right, currently, yes, it does allow you to do your YouTube link. It allows you to do your Instagram link. And I have ran so many campaigns with artists at this point where I've tried to tell people the greatest thing that I found on TikTok is the fact that it's transferable to other platforms like nothing I've seen before. People hear your sound and they go listen to your music. They're not even necessarily even looking for you or right off the bat, but they're going to hear your music and then becoming a fan, or they're on your profile and they're following you, but then they go to see your Instagram if they're following you as a content creator. But it's not even you having to ask, right? People are just going. For whatever reason, they're going and engaging on other platforms. I don't know if it's just because TikTok currently has limitations, where they're actually trying to build out to make that less of a thing. I don't know if that's what they want, but currently they're hopping over to other platforms. And why that's so relevant to me is because when you're talking about adding a URL for e-commerce, right, or whatever other URL, that means people will go. I've seen people go. Run a campaign, and now the Spotify song has plus 100,000 listens just from a small TikTok campaign, right? That's a very real thing. And people currently are they're seeing the sound. Let me go Google search it, right? That's the current behavior. Or let me go to Spotify actively. It's not clicking a link to then just go straight to the song. So the fact that they're doing that, going over that barrier, making that barrier of entry even smoother is going to be crazy.
So also you'll often see as well in the comments, like fans asking, what's this guy's artist name, or what's the name of this song? And they'll like comment like, go here, like search this on Spotify. Like they're all very actively engaged on the comment section. So you can see it just from that level as well, the impact that now a URL is going to have.
Exactly. People are looking. They're looking. Now, some cases, I'm like, why are you asking? Because if you just click the sound, it'll show right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, people are already looking. They're hungry and they're trying to find this information. So just making it easier for that to happen, I could only imagine. I remember you mentioned earlier when we were talking at being able to add a fan link now as an artist, which can't be done before, right? All of these artists at this point, well, most artists at this point are using some kind of link where you can choose Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple, all that. On Instagram, you can't do that. On TikTok, but it's still having an impact. So you being able to do that, I can only imagine that impact. I'm excited to see what happens, because I'm also interested to see the stat, because some of those fan links, right, you can see the actual stats in the back end, how many people clicked through and where it went to. That part is going to be really cool to be able to see.
They're just making things constantly easier to monetize. Like it's just everything all the features they add have such a good purpose. Like so obviously the first thing was live and being able to tip artists, and now suddenly you can advertise your own merchandise or products in-house. So,
yeah, I'm actually going to share the screen. So Joshua, I would definitely love, before I even get into this, in my opinion on it, love to see what you think in terms of how this would feel as an ad or e-commerce link.
But what I like is how subtle it is. Obviously, instantly your eyes are drawn to the panda, and then obviously the caption. But you can just see the little pandaloon costumes in the bottom left above the @ handle. But obviously, your eye's not drawn to that for quite some time. So it doesn't feel like an advert. It feels like a regular post.
Exactly. That's my thing. So for those who are actually looking and not just listening to this, there's this panda on the screen, right? But it's this small thing that says Pandaloon, where you see the yellow box next to it. That is essentially the click through. The part that says www.uplabizia.com, that website, that's not a part of this. That's not a part of the post. That's more just somebody adding their watermark. So really, it's only that yellow box that you see, and it's so clean. If you actually watch this, the first thing that came when we watched the live video, we're not going to show, it's kind of weird, and but
not a great example, but yeah,
but there was the example they gave us. It shows your eyes go directly to the video, so it feels organic right into the platform with anything else. Versus when I'm on Instagram, if you even think about the line of scrolling, as I scroll up, the first thing I see, I can read that it says sponsored before I even see the post. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And at the very least, this is the opposite. Like, it would be cool if that makes me think, if on Instagram, if they could at least put the sponsored thing below the post, right? To give it a chance of feeling organic.
Yeah.
First, that would make a huge difference, because this does that. And of course, your videos, this is all video on the platform. It's motion. So you're not even looking to read first. You're looking to engage and get into that before you even look at the rest of it.
Because if you're advertising like your music and it's a music video, it might just come up like it looks like a regular TikTok video, won't it? It won't look like something that's sponsored or advertised. If you've got this little tiny sticker in the corner only, like it's going to feel like I'm watching another video.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. TikTok is doing a lot of things right. I could definitely attest to that, and I'm interested to see where things go. I can't wait till it gets to the phase where other people are on the platform outside of a lot of dancing and comedy, because it's going to go that way. It's going to have the deep side. It's going to have everything in the same way Instagram does. At some point, other people are going to figure out a way to make it make sense for them. Right? They're just going to have to. There's already churches. There's already motivational speakers in some aspects. If you look at somebody like Gary Vee, right? That's just his persona on that platform. And it's successful partially because he's already bringing people over and also the main advertiser for people to come over. But at the same time, the engagement is true that's happening on that platform. So he's somebody to model, and there's artists on the platform, like visual artists. There's all these aspects on TikTok. And once it starts to evolve and the power of these organic ad systems, that's going to be really interesting to see.
And they're not far away either. As like Instagram's got over 1 billion monthly active users, but TikTok's already over 500,000. Like, it's really quickly catching up. And the growth this year has been ridiculous. It was the #1 downloaded app on the App Store in the first quarter of 2019. So it's not going to take long next year for it to be, the main place. Like, because where would you rank TikTok right now in terms of the power as a social media platform? Like, where would it rank in your list?
Ooh, social media. I always put YouTube in there and realize that I was like, that's technically not social media. So I would say Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
And Twitter is a weird space, but it's so specialized in why people use it right now. So right now, currently, I would say Instagram, then TikTok. You might say Instagram, Twitter, then TikTok. But Twitter is just I don't think any Instagram or TikTok have any competition with Twitter. Twitter is just such a specialist place. They have a complete monopoly on that behavior and the way that works, if you know what I mean. So that's it. It's only one in the way. That's it.
You don't consider, like, obviously Facebook's, the power of the advertising still got the biggest reach than any other platform. You don't consider that as a main player.
Yeah.
I still put it #1 because of the size of the user base and the reach and everything.
Okay, true. So because of the size of the user base, yes, because I think they're at 2-point-something billion.
Yeah.
All right. Like, they're literally around like a third of the world, which is a whole nother thing why the government doesn't want them to do their own cryptocurrency. It's like, y'all are trying to really become more powerful than the United States. So in sheer power and reach, You're right. I would have to give it to Facebook. I just always forget about Facebook. In
But it is
some
number two behind
ways.
Facebook companies. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
TikTok is still, it's number one behind
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram. Like obviously,
Yeah.
Snapchat is still got its place, but I'd put maybe I'd put Snapchat above Twitter in some cases because there's obviously younger audience and where they consume content over there. Like
Snapchat is so fringe. The reason I don't put Snapchat as a true place of power is just that lack of lasting content, right? The lack of creating catalog and truly branding off of it. The lack of being able to be discovered off of it. That's why you don't see so many Snapchat posts shared in news or blogs and things like that, right? So
yeah. But it wasn't. It was interesting. It was the number one place for like 16 to 24-year-olds to consume news. I think it was either last year or the year before. It was like the number one platform for consuming news.
Yes, but that's news. That's curated news, right? And the curated news is one of the, in my opinion, any platform that's just that in today's era is that by nature is least powerful, because so much of the news and so much of the power of the news is not what the news is, but what happens after the news. When we think about social media, the conversation after the news, right? And how that gets shared, how that gets placed, and so you'll see, again, Twitter post, right? Get posted like this happens, and somebody said they can't do something, or a tour got canceled, and then you see all the news people posting that from Twitter. Right. And you might even see them talk about that on the news. And then Instagram, you see some similarity of that on Instagram, but just the interaction is completely different when you look at Instagram. So yeah, that's why I put Snapchat. It's just a little too enclosed in terms of impact. It's strong within its own core, but it fails to reach outside of that, where you become viral within the platform, or something happens in the platform and it starts to impact other places. That's the issue I see with that. The only thing I saw was DJ Khaled, right? He was the only one who really had something going heavy on Snapchat to the point that it became super advertised. And a lot of that was partial, like media relations. It wasn't natural and organic, right? That's what I'm saying. Obviously he had the machine that was kind of helping push that. So yeah, I would say Facebook, to your point though, I agree with that completely. And you can't forget about the older audience. There's still a lot of old people in the world, right? They do have the most comprehensive ad program, which goes from Facebook and Instagram. It counts for both, which is another thing they just have on anybody. Like TikTok is still beta testing their ad platform. Twitter is less desirable. YouTube, I love it for some very specific reasons, but just as far as the complete depth of it, is nowhere near Facebook. Nobody can touch Facebook as far as their ad platform and what that allows you to do if you know how to use it. And and then Instagram is just the more popular side of Facebook. We'll just call it that, right? The more young and hip side of Facebook. And then
in 1 year, TikTok has become the number 2 player behind them, which is crazy.
Exactly.
Like last year to 18 months, like the rise. Like
exactly. Like that's, I think TikTok is. I'm interested to watch this because we haven't gotten a chance to see something like this, something that stands as this true threat in a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And we still need to get to people with messages that it's not just Vine 2.0. There's still a lot of people who think it's just another version of Vine, but you couldn't get any of these features or this reach on Vine. It was just, the videos. This is right. So much beyond that. Like
way more developed. And I hadn't thought about that though. Just the sheer marketing message of it being Vine 2.0 to a lot of people, it has kept people from being on a platform, probably from the standpoint of the fact that Vine didn't last, right? So
yeah, exactly. That's what my generation thinks anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The generation, also the younger generation, they love it, they're obsessed with it. But my generation grew up on Vine, they just think, oh, TikTok, that's just Vine 2.0. It's definitely not. Yeah.
Nah, far and beyond.
So segueing on to another topic related to sort of creating content, there is a brand new open source AI tool called SWETA, which has been made by Deezer, a streaming platform from France. and it allows you to essentially isolate certain parts of songs, certain stems. So if you've got a track, you could isolate the vocals from the instrumentation, the backing track. You could also isolate individual instruments as well. It's a really powerful new tool. Obviously, there's been loads in the past that have tried to, isolate vocals so you can use them for remixes and stuff. But this software is free, and it's the best that's been released so far. It's the best on the market, and a lot of people have been taking notice of it of late. But I feel like it's not got massive global attention. But The Verge ran an article on it, and there are some interest being taken. But it's a great opportunity to, take vocal stems for DJ sets, for mashups, for karaoke. Like, there's a lot of potential.
Yeah, I think this is extremely cool, especially where it's going to go. I'm going to try to play an example. Hopefully it's somewhat smooth, and we can put a link in the description to this page so people can test it out for themselves. But let's see if I can play something.
Why men great till they gotta be great? Woo! I just took a DNA test, turns out I'm 100% that bitch. Even when I'm crying crazy, yeah, I got boy problems, that's the human in me. Bling, bling.
All right, now, hopefully YouTube doesn't identify that as something that they want to take down, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the vocal for Lizzo, Truth Hurts. There's a few other vocals on this page. Marvin Gaye, I heard it through the grapevine. Billie Eilish, Bad Guy. There's a few really dope, just isolated parts that people are gonna listen to. And I think this is cool. Obviously, just like having all my friends that are producers and DJs, just how easy that process is. That'll be really cool. And I don't know if you could have told through what I just played, because obviously this isn't completely set up for that just yet. We're working on something like that, but you might not have heard the quality, but it's actually pretty good quality. Some of them aren't great quality, but
yeah, it's mixed results.
Actually good quality. Yeah,
but it's the best I've ever heard. There's been loads of different tools you could try out before that, but there's so much bleed from other tracks. But this one actually seems to really pinpoint just like the vocals, or you can program it to do 2 stems, so vocals and the backing track. You could do 4 stems, so vocals, drums, bass, and another instrument of your choice, or even 5 stems, so vocals, drums, bass, piano, guitar. Like, it's been well trained, this machine learning software. Like, also you have to have some sort of knowledge of coding on how to do it, because you have to set up, download the code from. Let me find the actual information. So you need to.
Perfect. Because I was going to ask you that, like how accessible is it?
Use Python or Google's AI toolkit called TensorFlow, because you have to download the code from GitHub, and then you have to run it through one of these 2 programs, and you have to be comfortable putting in like lines of code and things to get it to work. It's not got like a simple interface, but my friends have been trying it out, and he says it's actually not too bad set up. If you follow YouTube tutorials, it's quite easy to do. He said, but it just requires you to take some time to go in and set it up. Like, it's not something you just download and you can just use it. Like,
Got it. So that's still cool too. That's early, right? Early so I'm sure once you learn how to do it a couple times, it becomes real easy for you, and it's worth it if it's a part of your job. Essentially it hasn't hit commercial usability by your description, right? Where I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I just want to do it just for fun, and I might put it in a TikTok video or something like that, right? Yeah. It's not there yet, but it is at a point where if I'm a producer or DJ, it can be very well worth learning how to do it. So,
and what's great about this is that if you're a DJ, and obviously you have to buy stems online or find illegal downloads of stems from vocals, but that's only really for like really big well-known songs. But with this, you're in control of what you put through the program, so you could pick any song in the world you wanted instead. Like, whereas there's not that freedom of choice on the market right now. So, and it uses MP3s or waves. That's the idea. There's this freedom of choice now, because there's a lack of availability of certain songs on the internet. So
that's huge. That's huge. I didn't think about it in that way. I love that.
That's my favorite bit about it, I think. Yeah.
This is gonna have a pretty cool impact, a legitimate impact, especially as it starts to build out. You mentioned that this is one of Deezer's platforms.
Yeah, Deezer developed this program. Yeah, which is really an interesting idea for them to be getting involved in this.
Yeah. Hey, I guess they know that Spotify has such a strong hold in the market. Let's invest in innovating in some other ways as well.
Yeah, but they have said they're not going to make it like commercially usable. They're not going to go any further with it, but other companies can take this and do that. But they're not interested in making it like really, yeah, they're not interested in making it like a nice interface, a nice, easy, accessible product.
So are they leaving it essentially open source and then?
Yeah, it's open source, so anyone can
Wow.
do what they want with it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So other companies probably will take it on and make something a bit more friendly for usable use. Yeah. So
definitely. I'm trying to think if I can figure out the right use case. I know a few programmers.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but yeah, imagine for TikTok in the future, you can, make your own mashups. Like,
yeah,
it'd be really cool. Like,
that's cool. That's super cool.
Definitely check out we'll put a link in the description, and definitely check out all the examples. Like, there's been some quite funny ones. I know there's one on Twitter where a guy put, "We Didn't Start the Fire," and by Billy Joel, and he put that on the Friends theme tune. You mashed up them, and it works out surprisingly really well.
Really?
Yeah, it works out quite well. So
that's funny.
Big topic next. An interesting one that I only was brought to my attention a few days ago by a few producers from California, because the headline essentially is that California's music economy could be about to crash because there's one particular bill that could come into effect in the new year. I was telling you about this earlier, but it's such a massive thing to unpack, and it's just...
Yeah, it was crazy when you first told me about it, because I was looking at it and I understood some of the general things it was saying. And I guess, you can go ahead and get right into the description, but this to me is huge, and hopefully it's not an indicator of some other things that might spread into other states. Let's leave this thing in California.
Yeah, right. So let's try and have a go at trying to break it down. But this new bill is called AB5. It's coming into effect on January the 1st next year. It's already been passed in California. It was essentially designed to support workers' rights for like people who work for Uber or DoorDash. But rather than making a law to help them, they made it generally for everyone. So it outlaws all independent contractors. So essentially for musicians, I'll break it down for musicians' context. So how the law is written, if you're an artist and you want to hire a bass player to play at your gig for, let's say, $100, you want to pay them, it means you have to give them a contract that legally designates them as your employee. So you have to hire them as an employee, put them on payroll, provide benefits, etc. Like you have to sign a contract and make them your employee, which is just crazy because it's just for one gig, but you've now got to sign them up. And this means also for venues that if you want to play a gig at a venue, let's say the Bootleg in California, they wouldn't be able to just give you a check. You'd actually have to become an employee of Bootleg. So you wouldn't just get your check. You'd have to put tax on that as well. And you have to go on their payroll. It's crazy.
Yeah. And from an artist standpoint, I know that sounds tedious, right? And it might sound annoying as well, that typical $900 check you might get, or that $900 cash that you might get, instead becomes $870 or something like that, $830, because you have to pay all these other taxes that are associated with being a regular employee to something like that. Actually, the number is probably, especially in California, it'll be that $900 would probably be more like $700 or something, or $6 something, right? But like I know that sounds annoying from an artist standpoint, but what's even greater is the business impact from a business standpoint, right? That can encourage you not to have artists. Let me figure out a different way to go about this. Unless the artist is willing to take, for one, all the impact, right? Okay, no, I'm not going to pay you more so it can equal back down to $900, right? That'll be one thing. You're not going to see businesses shifting to that, I don't think. But even bigger than that, still having to put something on somebody on a payroll, still having, for me as a business, to pay those unemployment taxes on that individual and do all this other due process that doesn't make it worth it unless this is going to be an ongoing employee of mine. It'll actually discourage people from hiring artists for gigs, whereas instead I might start to look at easier options like, look, what can I play off of Spotify? Right? Get one of my employees that like that could be our jukebox. Let's play off the employees' phones, or figuring out other ways, creative options to provide entertainment, maybe musical entertainment specifically, that doesn't create that particular hurdle. Because if my whole thing was bringing in new artists weekly or something like that, it's too much of a headache. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe an ongoing residency as well. That will be a simpler, at least, solution that might help in that aspect. But I think what's crazy is just more and more I deal with things government related is people underestimate how one law meant for one thing impacts everything else, right?
Exactly.
Like if this somebody's dealing with injustice over here and it just seems like a X issue, right? A gay issue, or a race issue, or whatever, you know, issue is like, no, that affects all the groups, the actual ruling. If this is for people who are doing Postmates, like you said, no, that affects other industries unless you specify, which they never do, right? And that is just for this particular thing because they have to leave it flexible. It's interesting how these things, and unfortunate at the same time that, I don't know, it feels like laws like these are lazy. But I'm sure there'll be some pushback. Hopefully there'll be some pushback.
Because artists won't want to tour there either. They might, you know, if this happens, they're going to skip California altogether because it's just going to be too much hassle for them. They're not going to, or people aren't even going to book them, are they necessarily? Like venues aren't going to be paying acts to come, right? If it's so much hassle. And
you know, I thought about this initially from the smaller gig space, right?
yeah,
You know, in a bar and things like that. But yeah, like, so
bigger
let's just say
taxes for bigger artists.
Beyonce, right? Yeah, let's just say Beyonce comes in and she's at a venue in California, the Staples Center or something like that. This still was the same would apply, right?
Yeah, we're talking about the 5th largest economy in the world, California. We're not talking about some small state. You know, we're not talking about this is a massive. This is like the entertainment capital of like the world.
I'm
Like
trying
California.
to think of. Yeah, I'm just trying to think if is there a way around it currently? Like, could you hire him as a contractor at least? I don't know. I wonder how that would work.
What the biggest thing for me is what I can't understand is that there are loads of exemptions in this law. We're talking like lawyers, dentists, physicians, vets, photographers, but musicians were not included in this. And I don't know how. Like, that's what I can't understand. Like, I read that there's one group from musicians that are in favor of this, which is they're called the American Federation of Musicians. They've got about 80,000 members. Obviously, there are millions of artists out there, so that doesn't mean anything. There was so the RIAA and A2IM, they were both against this bill. So was the Music Artists Coalition, which has got artists like Anderson .Paak and Maren Morris and Meghan Trainor. They're all members of that organisation. They were against it as well and fought against it. But it still passed into law on the 18th of September this year without musicians being included in the exemptions.
That comes from lack of representation. Because you see those exemptions that already took place, that means there's nobody in music in a strong enough position to have had that impact in that particular place. Because obviously this is probably affecting some other industry that we're not thinking of that also wasn't listed as an exemption. So that just has to be a lack of representation in the decision-making space of where that happens. But hopefully that gets appealed. As it gets larger, I can only be clear that, I think there'll be more of a ruckus created on that.
Things are moving. Ari Herstand said that he's going to have a meeting with the Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez, who proposed the bill in the first place. Like, they're going to have a sit down with some musicians and discuss in the coming weeks. But they've only got a month to turn this around. So
I'm interested. Well, look, the government stuff, man, they can go forever, man. Appeals and things that take 2 or 3 years to get done. What I'm most interested in is the group that's actually for this and why. What are their points for being for this? I would like to hear that.
Definitely, yeah, exactly. I think most of the American Federation of Musicians, I think there's a lot of like orchestral set musicians and things in this organization.
I was going to ask you if you had any idea what the makeup of the type of artist it was.
That was what I read very briefly. I think it's largely,
that makes a huge difference.
So, but some apparently what they're annoyed about is what no one really heard about this because it got rushed through. You know, you got rushed through the government like this law without much opposition because there was no time to really oppose it. It's very sort of like quickly in and out, which is very unheard of for most bills that take ages to pass. So it's only getting picked up now, even though it was passed 2 months ago. So that's worrying
Man.
for the industry.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's just so many things happening at one time. It's almost hard for all of them to get the visibility. I don't know if this one was pushed or rushed through with some sort of specific larger agenda, or there was a reason that it kind of was kept a little quiet. But man, there's just so much happening at once. It's like, how do you keep up with it?
Yeah, exactly. But to not be aware of it for like 2 months, though, it's a bit.
Yeah,
It's a bit concerning for the music industry wasn't really picking up on this. Yeah, but hopefully they will get the exemption that rightfully should happen. It's ridiculous. Like you're really putting the entire music economy in jeopardy if this doesn't get resolved. So a massive story. We'll definitely keep tabs on that and give an update in the next one. Moving on to Spotify, we talked a lot about them extensively on the last video about the opening of the two-sided marketplace, how it wants to really empower artists and monetize as much as possible. They're doing the push notification adverts now as well for New Music for You, but people have been breaking down like what it would actually take for Spotify to achieve their mission. Daniel Ek, the founder, has said he wants 1 million artists to live off income solely from Spotify. So David Turner from the Penny Fractions newsletter has broken down what that would actually mean. So currently 30,000 artists are in this top tier that are living off Spotify income, which is 0.733% of the artists currently on the platform. So to achieve this goal, there would have to be 400,000 million musicians on Spotify, which is 5% of the global population. So that's 400,000 million.
400 million?
400,000 million. That's 5% of the global population would have to be musicians on Spotify. And currently Spotify's got 158 million listeners, and 71 million of those are paying into the premium subscription. So to achieve this goal of 1 million artists living off income on Spotify only, you need to have 7.2 billion people subscribed to Spotify, with 3 billion of them paying. So that's basically the entire population would have to pay into Spotify. Obviously, this is all hypothetical, means nothing. But when you put in the context that this is with the current model, just with the subscription plans, so really Spotify need to open up more ways to monetize content on the platform, because otherwise they can get nowhere near this mission if they don't do that. That's the bigger debate at large, is that they need to do more, because look how stupid this goal is when you've only got income from subscribers.
Yeah, I mean, because we already know a huge majority of their current subscribers anyway aren't even paying for it.
Exactly,
and their ads,
their income is from them. So
exactly, so that wouldn't work. Yes, there's some ways to help with touring and merch that Spotify does for the people who have enough data for it to actually be relevant, but there has to be a lot more done from a monetization standpoint. But from artists, it's pretty simple, right? We know touring and merch. What else can they do? Where else can they go from that in terms of Spotify integrating needs other than boosting fees, right? And paying something that might be a little bit more fair. I can't even think of it right away, because those are the main ways that artists monetize in general. Is there a new income stream that doesn't currently exist or doesn't really get tapped into enough in any other place that Spotify can help out with?
Well, what I want to take the direction of this conversation is that Spotify needs to make a decision about what it actually wants to be, because does it want to be this, because currently it's obviously a consumer facing company, it's not an artist focused company at the moment, and it's also a general audio and podcasting company, not just a music one. But if it wants to help 1 million artists live off the music, it needs to go more down the route about creating tools focused towards artists. And most of the companies they've bought over the past few years were geared towards, helping the artists. But more recently, they're investing in companies that are more focused on rights management and original podcasting content and stuff. So they're kind of contradicting themselves with their actions. So obviously, back in the early days, they were trying to help the artists, and they moved towards becoming the Netflix of audio more recently. But now they're saying their mission is to allow 1 million artists to live off music and income on Spotify. So they don't really know what they're doing, do they? They don't really know what direction to go in. It's awkward crossroads.
I mean, music is taking off, right? And such a large reason that people have Spotify in general. I think the consumers think of it as a music space. They don't think of it as a podcast space or the Netflix of audio, right? Consumers don't even
Yeah.
create their behavior like that. But with that being said, yes, there are these other opportunities as a business, podcasting and all that stuff. So I'm sure they want to lock it down. The contradictions though will probably create a lot of issues down the road. To me, what I personally see right now is all these partnerships that y'all create in music, all of these, like, you're in bed with all the labels, right? Because it's pretty much necessary for you to even be on the platform.
Yeah.
And now from there, you're trying to do something similar in podcasting, but never even fully getting down to serving the core, which is the artist itself, right? For them to be able to continue to want to be on your platform. It's kind of like SoundCloud in a sense, where this music and these artists have came onto your platform because it was helping them out, it was helping them distribute. But as you guys grew and start to look for more and more opportunity, you start to do things that's antithetical to the core user. So we have to say the core user is not the consumer, even though the consumer is a consumer facing company. The core person you're giving service to has to be the artist first, so they can be inspired to continue being on that platform, even though it's like, yo, we got all these consumers on the platform, so we have a monopoly on it. So you have to be on Spotify. That doesn't always add up, because now you eventually open yourself up for another company to come in the same way SoundCloud had Spotify and other companies take over the position that it once had, right? Because now the artist will see, hey, look, let me go over here. You just need that company to hit a certain scale and have a certain amount of investment.
This is the danger. So if Spotify do decide they want to go down, become a Netflix for audio route, they're going to do less and less geared towards the artist, which is going to, move them to elsewhere. But and then they just can't decide right now. So they're saying they're doing one thing and then they're saying the other. So Daniel X saying we want a million artists to live off, Spotify, but then everything they're doing right now is geared towards them investing in companies to growing their podcasting and audio, consumer-facing side of things.
I don't know if you remember, but they tried video for a while.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And
so
they figured out that wasn't going to work, but they tried it.
Yes, but their actions right now contradicting their mission statements, it feels like. And I think it's a very important time coming up for the company.
Hopefully a lot of it's just experimentation. Of course, some of it is market share and needing to be able to access and serve the podcast market because it is adjacent, and some of it does make sense. But hopefully a lot of the other stuff is just learning, right? That R&D part of investment, not necessarily something you want to apply directly to the company as a whole. It's just all research and development budget. That's what the hope is.
Well, the stock exchange will be pushing them to go down the consumer-facing route anyway. They've only just turned a profit in the last quarter, haven't they, finally? And they'll be keen for them to continue on the consumer-facing expansion route rather than developing features for artists to monetize. So it's a really interesting time for them to try and figure it out.
Wait, so you said their first quarter finally happened when they were profitable?
But I think they finally turned a profit in Q3.
So, because obviously, I've known about them not having it since their inception, which isn't out the norm for these types of companies that are user-driven marketplace, having to do the chicken and the egg situation. But the fact that they've actually turned their profit now, to me, that actually is when it becomes dangerous in one way, because now, all right, so you have the company, and this is Spotify being on the public market as well. Once they start to turn a profit, typically these companies get pushed in a direction where you want to continue to see profit, right? And you want to continue to see that profit grow. And then you see the incentive line up like that, because a lot of these companies aren't necessarily doing what's best for the company. If we're on the stock market, we have to speak to those people on Wall Street who want to see that number go up and up. So our incentive is now to do things that make the books look good versus creates a better company at long term. Amazon has been so great because they kind of ignore that and continue to invest in the future far longer term than other people. Spotify, I can't say that they have such a keen leadership as a Jeff Bezos, right? Those are rarer for those types of companies, especially once it starts to be the general executive board of directors type things leading the company. So I don't know. To me, that can be worrisome, just from the fact that making a profit sounds positive, but what comes after that can be against improving a great user experience and even bigger understanding the value of investing in the artist stuff that might not bring an immediate profit, but will be worth it for the platform long term.
It's always been a problem for Spotify. Like, I've never personally really known what it is. I don't think anyone really knows like what it actually is if you were to define it as its, as what the actual company is. It's always been, doing loads of different avenues. Like it's always been really hard to describe compared to a lot of other companies in terms of the biggest on the market.
How do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, obviously the music streaming platform is one avenue, but they have the podcasting, and they have the artist network and the Spotify for artists. Like they do a lot of different things. Like if you were to describe the company in a nutshell, it's always been they never really know themselves. It seems like who they actually are and what they want to focus on. They always try on different avenues, experimenting with different roads to go down.
That can be fair. I understand. I guess I actually get caught up so much, right, just because of what I do in the music side, that I just think about that part so heavily. But I mean, I do know so many people who aren't involved in music, right, that they only use it for podcast. Now that I think about it. So it's interesting to hear that outer perspective and more objective perspective of Spotify from that standpoint.
I think that's been their biggest problem. I think that's been what's always been holding them back. They've always tried to do all these different things and never really know what to really hone in on. And that's where they could be usurped in the music streaming market if they're not careful.
Yeah.
And when you've got these disruptors like TikTok coming in, and ByteDance are launching their own streaming platform now as well.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, we shall see, but it's such a massive topic and debate in that. Will they figure it out? Some point, hopefully. But finally, we'll do some quick hits, some final roundup of the news that's happened this month. So as we mentioned earlier, Instagram is now hiding likes for users in the US. A massive deal, but they haven't really gone far enough as far as I'm concerned with that. I think, if you're going to go down that route, you should get rid of the likes altogether.
Yeah. So you want to see a more radical move?
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to achieve a more active, more authentic engagement, then remove likes altogether, and that will encourage people to comment instead and actually have, and DM people.
Wow. You know what? So here, I'll share my screen actually. So initially it wasn't doing this, and now it says what you stated, right? Where it says liked by the Black Beauty and 1,236 others. Before it would say liked by, let's say, the Black Beauty and Brand Man Sean, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes,
that's all it would say, and I would have to click for it. I didn't realize that they had come back.
I've also seen ones where it says liked by, for example, the Black Beauty, and literally in words it says and thousands of others. It doesn't say an actual number. It just says and thousands of others in written text. That's
probably this format right here, right? And it just has to get to a higher number probably because it says 1,200 others. All right, so that's probably a similar format to this one when it gets. That's giving you an exact number there. Yeah, it just says just saying thousands is written as a word. Yeah, it's interesting. But before it was literally just saying, as you said, it was just saying liked by this user and this user. It wasn't giving any other information away. So again, they're already really going back on what they tried to do. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah. I'm interested to know why, like what that data might look like, or if they're still just experimenting, because I don't know. I've had plenty of things that happen on Instagram where it'll happen to my profile, but it won't happen to people around me, right? So I don't know how they choose the categories or where you're seeming to be located. Maybe because my number is different than other people in my area. I don't know, but I wonder what's happening elsewhere. I'm interested to see or hear why they bounce back, because I can't see the effect being that dire. I know there's going to be a lot of, so they have so many brand partnerships and corporate partnerships and things like that. So maybe there was pushback on stuff like that, but yeah.
It only really affects the top tier users as far as I'm concerned, this move. Yeah, the influencers and just for status and for.
Exactly. And they might have leaned too heavily on that. Maybe that might be a part of why they wanted to get out of that, but they're trying to figure out that process. So we will see. We'll leave it at that for there.
Yeah, we've also got Linkfire has struck a new partnership with Apple Music to provide additional streaming data. So Linkfire is like the smart URL we were talking about earlier, but with this one, you can actually, if you have an Apple Music for Artists account, you can actually see data and see how many people have actually interacted with the Linkfire link and who's clicked through to go and listen to you on Apple Music, what they listen to, how long they listen to it for, things like that. Lots of detailed information if you've got a Linkfire account. So just something to bear in mind.
I like that. How long people listen to part.
Yeah. The only downside of this is you have to have Apple Music has to be the first link on your Linkfire link. This is in the small print. Like you have to be the top one. So
that's funny.
I like this next one. DistroKid users, so it's got members of DistroKid can now easily claim YouTube official artist channels. So you had to apply before in quite a long-winded process, but if you use DistroKid, you can just log into their platform now and register for an official artist channel on YouTube.
Another conversation for another day, but I just have a lot of drawbacks in terms of having an official artist channel, especially for a young indie artist that's aspiring. But that'll be good to unpack.
Yeah, that'll be good to unpack.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But so they're expediting something in my case that could be negative or more restricting. But maybe they're also evolving some of the YouTube official artist channels. But I think it's cool that at least it's easier to do if you decide to do it.
Yeah. SoundCloud artists can now pay to promote their music if you're a SoundCloud Premier user. So similarly with Spotify, what it did with the New Music for You alerts, if you're now on SoundCloud, you can now pay to push your music to the top and push it to new audiences. So you can push your music to the top of people's feeds and push it in front of new listeners.
It's about time, man.
Yeah,
it's just so wild that this is news in 2019. How long SoundCloud has been along.
And SoundCloud Premier has been around for a long time as well. So yeah.
But yes, dope. Check it out if you're still on SoundCloud.
And finally, some students in the US have created an app called Localify. It localizes Spotify music. So if you use this app, it collates and makes playlists for artists from that particular area or artists who perform a lot in that particular area as well. So it's a good way to discover new artists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is going to be really dope. I like that a lot. It's in one way what some other platforms have done as far as trying to connect people with more aspiring artists, indie artists. It's not the same because you could have a bigger artist in your area. It doesn't have to necessarily be new and indie, but just having that proximity is a piece of information that creates different types of interactions possibly. And maybe it might be able to, I haven't got a chance to see and get into the platform to see what some of the advantages are. I would definitely want to talk about this a later day though.
They're tapped into a good area because obviously we really value the data that Spotify for Artists gives in terms of geographic locations and listeners to the artists themselves. But now to give that to the listeners as well to now listen to hyper targeted content, it's a really great move moving forward that they should probably do on a larger scale.
100%, man. Hey, look, if I'm an advisor, I would definitely say, this is a great idea, just from a standpoint of as they hit a certain level of scale. Spotify probably acquired this company. So they're good luck. Congratulations to you guys.
Good for them. Good idea.
Y'all are doing good work.
Yeah.
You guys will be rich in probably about 2-3 years.
And that's a wrap, Bray. That's pretty much your big news from November.
Hey, one thing I want to add before we get out of here, for anybody who actually is still listening, for one, thank you for listening this far through to the second episode of Music News That Matters on the first of every month. But another thing that's just really cool that I've recently discovered is the Bose sunglasses that have speakers on them. If you have not tried those out, go to Best Buy or H.H. Gregg or whatever your local electronic store is. Try those things out. The experience is unreal, and they're only like $200. Yeah, I know it sounds like I'm advertising for them. At some point, I probably need to get like an affiliate link, but I literally has told people if I had all the money I wanted, I would probably like buy it from all my friends and stuff like that this Christmas or something. It's an unreal experience. Joshua would definitely try it out.
I need to, yeah.
It's crazy. And I didn't even know that they had been out for, I don't know, all this.
I've never heard of them.
They dropped like in April or something like that. I just discovered them last month because I was going in and out in Best Buy trying to buy new equipment. And one day I said, let me try these. Unreal, man. Go try it out and hit me up when you try them out. I'm telling you, this is the future. We're probably going to talk about this in a longer conversation. I'm telling you, it's the future. If Google Glasses should have started here and evolved from here. But yeah, anyway, just try it out. I'm telling you, you don't have to buy it. Just go in there and try it out. It'll blow your mind. That's it.
Thanks for listening, guys.
It's the network.